What's up, you sweaty nerds and greasy degenerates? So I've been meaning to make this video for a little while now, comparing Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact together, and I just kind of never really got around to it. But since that time, there's been some interesting developments between these two games. On the side of Honkai Star Rail, they've given their players a free, premium 5-star character that just so happens to be one of the best characters in the entire game. And on the other side, we have Genshin Impact, who've, for the 1-year anniversary, pretty much offered their players a pat on the back and a better luck next year, champ. So I decided what better time than now to make this video comparing why Honkai Star Rail is better than Genshin Impact. And it's more prevalent now than it's ever been. So let's dive in. The first thing I thought we should look into is endgame content. Genshin Impact have literally given their players a singular crumb of endgame content in the form of Spiral Abyss. This game came out in September of 2020. It's been over 3 years, and they have gotten nothing since the very start of their game. On the other hand, Honkai Star Rail has gotten Memory of Chaos, Pure Fiction, Swarm Disaster, Golden Gears. I might even be forgetting about something right now. It's been so much in comparison. And these games are planned out very, very far in advance. We're getting 2.0 in Honkai Star Rail. They're probably already planning out in great detail 3.0 right now while they're releasing 2.0. Genshin Impact is about to hit 4.4. They're probably already working on 5.0, maybe even getting close to 6.0 at this particular moment in time. So this was planned very, very far in advance. That means that Honkai Star Rail was planned to get all of this stuff from the get-go before the game even released, guys. That's crazy. And that leads me into a problem that I can't necessarily compare one game to the other with, and that's the players. Honkai Star Rail players don't really need to boycott or complain about anything right now because they keep getting all this cool stuff for free. They don't even have to try. They're getting stuff they're not even asking for. The only thing on like Honkai Star Rail players' list of things that they really want is like a jump button and loadouts for their relics, which would be awesome, by the way. But you know what I mean? Hey, we're getting a lot of cool stuff, so I'm not complaining. But Genshin Impact players don't get nothing. And they sit there like, please, sir, can I have another, another nothing and be happy about it? Yes, we're so happy to get nothing. And it's just like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? Like, try to create some sense of a status quo. I heard somebody else use this comparison, and I really, really liked it. I can't remember who it's from, so I'm sorry if I didn't, like, shout you out or whatever. But it was about, like, if a sibling gets something really, really cool stuff, and they just keep getting all this really, really cool stuff, you're sitting there like, what the fuck, man? How come I'm not getting none of that stuff? And you use that as leverage against your parents to try to create fairness and a sense of a status quo between you and your other siblings. It's kind of ridiculous, right? Genshin Impact players have been watching Honkai Star Rail players for almost a year now get all of these different fun things that Genshin Impact players have been asking for literally years. But they didn't need Honkai Star Rail in order to make them feel bad, because Genshin Impact has been watching Honkai Impact Third players for years as well. Honkai Impact Third came out before Genshin Impact, and they already had all of this stuff. And now they're watching the new kid on the block get all these cool features and fun stuff. How come it's happening to them? But how come it won't happen for Genshin Impact players? Part of it is a sense of nostalgia. Part of it is that Genshin Impact players, despite complaining about these things for literally years, don't want to lose their progress. They don't want to lose the accounts and everything they've built up to this time. It's comparable to World of Warcraft. People want to make the next World of Warcraft killer, right? People have been talking about it all the time, just like people keep talking about the Genshin Impact killers. But none of them exist. There is no World of Warcraft killer. There is no Genshin killer. And that's because these players have been playing it for so long and have invested so much time into Genshin Impact that despite complaining about it for so long, they keep on playing anyway. They keep on eating all of this slop that gets dumped their way, all of these hard-to-swallow pills over and over and over again, and don't seem to feel like they want to do anything about it in any meaningful way. Complaining about it on the internet's not going to do anything. You gotta act. You have to fight with your wallet. Genshin Impact players have done this before. When Zhongli came out, they actually started I forget what it's called, but they basically like refunded some of the in-game purchases that they made because they were so pissed off about Zhongli not being as good as they wanted him to be. And that ended up causing them to actually buff the character, something that they simply do not do anymore. And part of the reason why they don't do it is because Genshin players haven't acted like that ever since. The best way you can fight this is with your wallet, because that's the only way you're gonna get Genshin Impact, the developers, to actually pay attention. They don't care about the stupid stuff you say on Twitter. They genuinely do not care. It doesn't affect them because their player base doesn't go away. The numbers that they see, the retention of player retention that they see every single, month, that doesn't change. Players continue to play because they don't want to lose their progress, right? There's that sense of nostalgia because they played it during the quarantine in 2020, and it has a special place in their heart, and they just don't want to lose that. But unless you fight this in a meaningful way, Genshin players will not see any change. I'm sorry to have gone off on a bit of a rant there, but I do feel like that was a necessary thing to say. And I think it's also important to note that these are live service games. That's what keeps players playing the games for so long, is because they constantly are supposed to see change, right? New adjustments to the game. But with Genshin Impact, it's pretty much one new domain every year. And that's it, right? That's basically all that's there. One new domain a year is not enough to keep players truly satisfied in a live service game. And that brings me now to the next thing I actually do want to compare between the two games, which are the in-game events every new patch. In every new patch of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, we get these in-game events that are temporary, and that's for both games. But with Genshin Impact, my experience has mostly been that the events aren't necessarily that fun, and they're a bit tedious, and the mini-games that they sometimes include can at times be interesting or fun, but most of the time, they're kind of just these little baby games that don't feel very fun and just kind of seem like ways of using up your time and not ways of giving you meaningful game experience that is fun to enjoy. It's like, go around the world and collect 10 farts. And then after you've collected your 10 farts, you go return them and turn them in over at the fart collector. And then after that, he gives you one really big fart. And the rewards for doing this are like a couple of sticks of gum. Obviously, I'm joking, but that's how it feels. It's like all of this work for basically nothing. But with Honkai Star Rail, the game modes and the fun events that they've added have pretty much always been fun. And some of the time, the game events are permanent in Honkai Star Rail, like Golden Gears, or Swarm Disaster, or Pure Fiction. These things are very fun and interesting, and they stay there permanently, so that even if you've already collected all the rewards for it, on a rainy day when you got nothing else to do, you can go back and do a couple of runs of it if you wanted to. And that's kind of nice, just to know it's there in case you wanted it. But we don't have that in Genshin Impact. And to be fair, I think that patch 1.5 of Honkai Star Rail, I wasn't a big fan of the events for patch 1.5. But literally, one patch so far in Honkai Star Rail hasn't been that interesting, and that's just about it. That's kind of rough for Genshin Impact players, because I can't think of a single permanent event in Genshin Impact, and honestly, I can't remember the last time that Genshin Impact had a fun event. Now, it probably sounds like I've just been shitting on Genshin Impact this entire time, and that's because I have been. But I wanted to point out some things that Genshin Impact has that come to mind immediately that Honkai Star Rail doesn't have, to be fair. And that's the first thing that comes to mind is a jump button. Like, it's actually crazy. It's actually insane that Honkai Star Rail still to this day doesn't have a jump button. And I think that if they finally do, not only will it be fun for a meme, but it'll be something that players have wanted since day one that Genshin actually does have, that Honkai Star Rail does not. But moving forward, I Also want to point out that Genshin Impact does have a really big, beautiful open world that you can just wander into and kind of get lost in. And that is something that Honkai Star Rail lacks. Honkai Star Rail is a different style game. I don't really feel like it needs that, but Genshin Impact does have that. It's a bit of more of a cozy game you can go wander around the world in and just kind of like goof off in if you just wanted to go do that. Like going and fishing. Genshin Impact has fishing, and I don't really like fishing in games, but some people love it. And Genshin Impact does have that for players that want it, and that is something cool that Genshin Impact has. I don't want people to take it the wrong way. I think Genshin Impact is a good game at its core. I just feel like they haven't adapted enough in the time that they have had to develop the game further. They've had so much time, and I feel like they haven't added any fun new systems to the game to like adapt and make it truly what it could be. And I feel like part of that is because they've not really had any competition up to this point. But I think that's changing. With Honkai Star Rail being a constant comparison to Genshin Impact, I think we probably will hopefully start to see at some point some change in Genshin Impact, but I don't know if it will come. With a game like Wuthering Waves, for example, coming out soon, Wuthering Waves might potentially be able to light a fire under Hoyoverse's ass. I don't really know. That's what we hope for, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I personally think that the only thing that can really kill Genshin Impact is Genshin Impact itself. And right now, they're kind of starting to shoot themselves in the foot, because unless they change the game, unless they listen to what the players want, eventually the players might get so pissed off and fed up that they might eventually stop playing the game. And that's when Hoyoverse will finally listen. So I implore you to try to act with your wallet and not pull for these new characters coming out. I, for example, really want to pull on Raiden Shogun right now, and I'm not going to do that as sort of my own personal boycott for the game. Because I feel like if you want to instill change in this world, you gotta do it yourself and not complain on Twitter and act like other people are gonna actually do something about it. The last thing that I wanted to kind of use as an example between why Honkai Star Rail is so much more enjoyable than Genshin Impact, at least right now, is that Honkai Star Rail values your time more than Genshin Impact does. One example of that is that the rewards for Honkai Star Rail are literally double what they are for Genshin Impact. It's literally double. We can literally get double the rewards. In patch 2.0 of Honkai Star Rail, for example, we estimate right now that the average player might be able to get around 130 up to like 150 pulls, depending on whether you have the Battle Pass and the Express Pass or not. And I don't know if you guys have done the math on that, but that means that it's actually viable for some players in patch 2.0 to potentially get both of the premium characters from that patch. Genshin Impact players would be lucky, and I mean lucky, if they could pull a single character during each patch, because the rewards are so low. And that is probably the best example I have of how Honkai Star Rail devs seem to value players' time more than the Genshin Impact devs seem to value players' time. And I know it's more than just, the dev team as a whole. There's probably people, above certain people's pay grades that cause a lot of this to happen. And I'm sure a lot of the Genshin Impact devs would want a lot of change, but they can't necessarily get it because what a lot of investors, for example, feel like about Genshin Impact, and what a lot of the higher up devs probably feel about Genshin Impact, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's kind of why we need to keep a fire under Genshin Impact's ass and keep complaining about this stuff. Keep trying to get something done. Because if players just keep playing and they don't stop and they don't try to get some kind of change, Genshin Impact devs will never change anything. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So those are the comparisons that I wanted to make between the two games right now. I'll probably revisit this topic again in the future and maybe make some more Genshin Impact, videos in the short term, because I do want to see change for Genshin Impact. So don't take it the wrong way. I do think that Genshin Impact is a good game. I like the game for what it is, but I feel like they haven't adapted to what players want in the modern era. I mean, I know I mostly post for Honkai Star Rail right now, but I'd post for Genshin if it felt like it was worth it, if I felt like I enjoyed my time in the game. And I feel like most players just have not been enjoying their time in the game as much as they used to. And that's a bit of a shame. And that's why I think players should continue to get on Genshin Impact's ass and try to instill some form of change. Anyways, that's the video for now. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole situation, any suggestions you might have. If you hate my guts because I try to give Genshin Impact constructive criticism like most players want to do right now. But yeah, that's the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.